2020, the Canada-Russia gold medal game brought in an astounding 4.3 million concurrent viewers just on TSN, setting a World Junior Tournament record and emphasizing the exponential growth and interest of this tournament. And to put this into perspective, this past Stanley Cup final, we saw average viewership peak at 2.8 million viewers in Game 6, which ended up being the final game. Meaning, the 2020 World Juniors didn't just do well in regard to tournament history, but it blew the doors off the Stanley Cup Finals. Now, viewership for the Stanley Cup Finals did take a massive hit because of the pandemic, but the fact that a tournament that consists of non-NHL players can outcompete the NHL, well, that is just spectacular. So, the real question is why? How can a tournament that consists of primarily amateur players outcompete a league that generates billions in revenue? Well, that is because the World Juniors, especially with the absence of the Olympics and the NHL, is the single tournament in the world that unites every hockey nation, as we get to see the best prospects from all corners of the world compete and battle for gold. It's fascinating, and more importantly, it's unpredictable, because unlike the NHL and even the Olympics, every World Junior lineup, because of age restrictions, sees a rotating roster. Team Canada may have McDavid one year, but the next year Canada was nowhere to be seen, with Jesse Puljujarvi and Patrick Laine taking over the tournament. And this element of mystery not only produces some of the most exciting hockey games, but it has the power to single-handedly determine the fate of those who play in it, as the World Juniors poses as the only event where we as hockey fans get to see how prospects compare on the same playing field, as now overseas players can prove they are just as talented as those in North America, and they now have a spotlight, as we have seen prospects catapult into stardom because of this tournament. But there's also a massive risk, because if you don't live up to expectations, it can seriously hurt your public perception in draft stock. One of the best examples of the absurd clout a player can receive from their performance happened in 2018. After being drafted 8th overall in 2017, Casey Middlestadt was a massive wildcard, as he was drafted at a high school, which is very uncommon in the first round, let alone the top 10. Combine that with the fact that Middlestadt had questionable athleticism, many fans didn't really know what to expect. However, after an impressive start to his NCAA season, Casey would start to build up momentum heading into the World Juniors. So much so that he would dominate, as he would showcase his elite puck skills, which ultimately led him to posting 11 points in 7 games, on top of many clutch moments which would earn him MVP of the tournament. And at this point, the hockey community was falling head over heels over Middlestadt, to the extent that he was claiming the title as top prospect in the world. Cale Makar? Nah, Casey Middlestadt. Rasmus Dahlin? Casey. Elias Pettersson? Get out of my face. Most analysts, because of this single tournament, were claiming Casey as the #1 Calder favorite. And for some more context, Casey finished his rookie season in the NCAA with 30 points in 34 games. Definitely respectable, but nowhere near impressive enough to make the hockey world favor him, which really just emphasizes the World Junior effect, because Casey would go on to having a very disappointing rookie campaign, as he would go from the predicted Calder winner to finishing with a dismal 25 points, on top of not receiving a single Calder vote. Now, I'm definitely not saying that Casey is a bust by any means, but this example goes to show how sometimes the World Juniors, because of its strong influence, can set expectations way too high.
A name you'll be hearing all year long in draft talk, Nolan Patrick of the Brandon Wheat Kings, back practicing, coming off sports hernia surgery in the summer, expected to play in his team's opener on Friday, and expected to have a massive draft year.
Heading into the 2017 NHL draft year, it was assumed to be the Nolan Patrick draft, with the rest of the draft consisting of a bunch of wildcard type players. And sitting around the 10 to 15 range in most scouts' minds stood Nico Hischier. And after a stellar start to his season in the KMJHL, Hischier would join Team Switzerland heading into the World Juniors. And being that the Swiss are always underdogs in this tournament, combined with the fact that Nico Hischier was the second youngest player in this tournament, well, there wasn't that much expectation.
Terrific camera work there, people. Luke in out ball and rather Hischier scores! Nico Hischier trying to get a stick on it. Hischier trying to chip it in. Hischier in the wrap scores!
However, Nico Hischier would light up this tournament because as a dark horse candidate and an underager, he would put up 4 goals, 7 points in 5 games, including 2 highlight reel goals against Team USA. And even though 7 points isn't the most impressive outcome we've seen, the fact that he surpassed all expectations and proved he could still dominate against other teams with far more star power, well, this tournament would be enough for Hischier to go from around the number 10 mark in the 2017 NHL draft to being the obvious number 1 pick in many scouts' minds. And this is exactly what would happen, as Hischier would start the season as a dark horse and miraculously ended up being the first Swiss-born player to be drafted first overall. And today, Hischier has been very solid. He's playing on a rebuilding Devils team, but he has shown the potential to be that two-way star. In 2016, we would see a whirlwind of ratings. To start, even though Austin Matthews was a surefire franchise center in the making and accomplished a lot in his draft year, stemmed solely from the World Juniors, people began to doubt that Matthews would go number 1 overall, even though he put up an extremely impressive 7 goals, 11 points in 7 games, which would even lead his team in scoring as an underager. And that is because of Patrick Laine. Because during the 2016 World Juniors, Laine would put up 7 goals and 13 points. And Puljujarvi would put up an incredible 17 points, which ultimately led them to a gold medal finish. And again, even though all signs indicated that Matthews was that consensus number 1 pick, the sheer influence from the World Juniors made it seem like there was a serious debate on who can go number 1, which is honestly crazy, because even though Matthews did nothing wrong, in fact, he was fantastic, but the effect of another player dominated outweighed Matthews' more comprehensive draft resume. Now, Matthews would still get drafted number 1 to the Toronto Maple Leafs, but that isn't always the case, because in this same tournament, we would see Jakob Chychrun start the season as a pretty much consensus top 3 pick and a projected elite top 2 pairing defenseman. However, after an average start to the season, Chychrun would be cut from the World Juniors. And without his presence, Chychrun would go from the consensus top defenseman in this draft to losing all momentum and being overtaken by Olli Juolevi and Sergachev. And this would impact Jacob so much that he would fall from the potential number 2 pick behind Matthews all the way to number 16. A massive fall for a defenseman who didn't do anything wrong. The World Juniors has so much clout, just your mere presence in the tournament can be the difference of a top 5 draft pick to a top 20 draft pick. And a more recent example of this took place last tournament, as Jamie Drysdale would make the roster in his draft year, and his presence would be so strong that he would go from around the number 10 range to be considered a top 3 choice by many teams. As the World Juniors continue to grow and gain an even bigger audience, it's going to be very interesting how this tournament will continue to change our perception of prospects. But anyways guys, have you ever been overly excited about a prospect because of the World Juniors? Comment down below, or even comment down below if you've ever seen an example of the World Junior effect. But anyways, I really appreciate your support, and again, I really feel like I'm repeating myself too much these days, but being a creator on YouTube has literally been my life goal since I was 10 years old, so I can't thank you guys enough for your continued support, as you are truly changing my life for the better, and I'm just really grateful. But I hope all you guys and your families are doing well. The World Juniors are just around the corner, which is why I thought this would be an interesting topic to touch on. But see you guys later.